Commander Alex Brennan stood tall on the bridge of the starship Pathfinder, watching as the massive space station of the Galactic Council came into view. After decades of scanning the stars, humanity had finally made contact with alien civilizations 3 years ago. Now they were about to join the galactic community as its newest member. "Communications coming online, sir," said Lieutenant Ryan Cortez from his station. "The Council is giving us docking instructions." Alex nodded, trying to hide his excitement. The Earth government had chosen him to lead this historic mission, and he felt the weight of 7 billion humans on his shoulders. "Follow their guidance exactly," he ordered. "Let's make a good first impression." The Pathfinder glided smoothly into an enormous docking bay filled with ships of various designs. Some looked like giant crystals catching the light of nearby stars. Others resembled nothing Alex had ever seen before. Cloudy formations contained energy fields or structures that seemed to shift and change as he watched. Dr. Samantha Powell joined him at the viewport, her eyes wide. "Those must be the 3 major council species we were briefed about: the crystalline Vox, the gaseous Marith, and the hive-minded Zinthar." Alex checked his uniform one last time as the ship settled into place. "Remember, everyone, we represent all of Earth today." The diplomatic team of 12 humans gathered at the airlock. They had trained for this moment for months, learning what little was known about alien customs and practices. The outer door opened to reveal a long corridor lined with beings from at least a dozen different species. Alex stepped forward first, raising his hand in the universal greeting they had been taught. "On behalf of Earth and all humanity, we come, in peace and friendship." The aliens did not return the gesture. Instead, Alex felt a sudden chill in the room. The Vox representative, a tall being that looked like a walking diamond with glowing points of light for eyes, stepped forward. "You will follow us to the council chamber," it said in a voice that sounded like tinkling glass. There was no warmth in the words. Alex glanced at his team, seeing his own confusion mirrored in their faces. This wasn't the welcome they had expected. Still, they followed their guides through corridors filled with technology beyond human understanding. In the council chamber, 3 massive thrones dominated a circular room. Representatives of dozens of species filled tiered seating around the walls. The human delegation was directed to stand in the center like suspects in a trial. The Maritha counselor, a swirling blue-green cloud contained in what looked like a floating glass bubble, spoke first. "We have studied your transmissions, your history, and your biology. We have reached a unanimous decision." Alex felt his heart beat faster. This wasn't following protocol. They were supposed to present their case for membership, showcase human achievements, demonstrate their peaceful intentions. "We would like to present our," he began. "Silence," interrupted the Zinthar representative, a collection of small, insect-like creatures that moved as one, forming shapes that somehow conveyed emotions. Right now, they formed a pattern that needed no translation. Disapproval. "Humanity has been classified as evolutionarily unstable and dangerously adaptive," continued the Vox counselor. "Your species changes too rapidly. You solve problems in unpredictable ways. Your technology development lacks proper patterns." Dr. Powell stepped forward. "Those are our strengths. Our adaptability has helped us overcome challenges that might have destroyed other species." "Precisely the problem," said the Marith, its cloud darkening. "In merely 10,000 years, you advanced from simple tools to space travel. It took the Vox 50,000 years to achieve the same. The Zinthar required nearly 70,000. The Zinthar representative shifted into a new pattern. "Your kind fights wars, then makes peace with former enemies. You damage your planet, then develop solutions. You face extinction events and grow stronger. This pattern is dangerous to galactic stability." Alex couldn't believe what he was hearing. "You're punishing us for surviving? For innovating?" "We are protecting the galaxy," corrected the Vox. "The Council hereby issues the quarantine decree. Earth is to be isolated from all galactic affairs. Humanity is forbidden from expanding beyond its solar system." Images appeared in the air showing automated stations. Sentinel platforms will be positioned at the edge of your system. Any attempt to pass them will result in immediate destruction. The human delegation erupted in protests. Lieutenant Cortez had to be physically restrained by his colleagues. Dr. Powell argued scientifically, citing examples of cooperative species development. Alex appealed to principles of fairness and sovereignty. None of it mattered. The council had made its decision before the humans had even arrived. "You have 6 hours to depart," the Maritha counselor announced. "After that, the quarantine begins." Back on the Pathfinder, the team sat in stunned silence. Their historic mission had become a historic failure. "They're afraid of us," Dr. Powell finally said. "Not because of what we've done, but because of what we might become." Alex stared out at the alien ships moving around them. "We need to get this information back to Earth immediately. The world needs to prepare." 3 weeks later, the Pathfinder returned to Earth orbit. News of their rejection had been sent ahead and the planet was in turmoil. Protests filled the streets. Military forces were on high alert. Scientists worked desperately to understand the alien technology they might soon face. At the United Nations Space Command headquarters in Geneva, Alex delivered his full report to a room of grim-faced leaders. "The Sentinel platforms are already in place," he concluded. "We're trapped in our own solar system, possibly forever." Admiral Eleanor West, a veteran space strategist with more combat experience than anyone in the room, listened from her seat at the head of the table. When Alex finished, the room fell silent, waiting for her response. She stood slowly, her eyes moving from one face to another. "They think they've caged us," she said, her voice steady and determined. "They expect us to accept these limits, to live quietly in our little corner of the galaxy." Admiral West activated a holographic display showing star charts of regions beyond the Council's main territories. "But there are places they don't watch, areas they consider worthless or too harsh for life. Dead space, they call it." Her finger traced paths between these regions. "If humanity can't expand through the front door, we'll go through the back. We'll build in the shadows, grow stronger in secret, and develop technologies they can't imagine." Alex saw something dangerous and necessary in her eyes. Defiance. "They cast us out because they fear what we might become," Admiral West continued. "So let's show them exactly how right they were to be afraid." The room filled with determined voices as Earth's leaders began planning humanity's hidden empire. The Council had made a critical mistake. They had given humans exactly what had always driven them to their greatest achievements, an impossible challenge. 20 years had passed since the Galactic Council banished humanity to its home solar system. The Sentinel platforms hovered at the edge of Sol, silent watchers that destroyed any ship that tried to pass them. On Earth, they were a constant reminder of humanity's place in the galaxy, unwanted and feared. But humans had never been good at accepting limits. Kate Miller wiped frost from her visor as she stepped onto the surface of Europa 9, a frozen moon orbiting a gas giant in what the Council called dead space. The temperature here dropped to -200 degrees. No Council race would ever consider such a place habitable. That was exactly why humans had chosen it. "Thermal systems holding steady," Kate reported, checking the readouts on her suit. "The new insulation design works even better than we predicted." Behind her, a dome rose from the icy surface, its surface shimmering with energy fields that kept the killing cold at bay. Inside, 5,000 humans lived and worked in what they called Echo Colony 1, the first of humanity's secret outposts. "Engineering team, report to the new drilling site," came a voice through her comm. "We've detected a pocket of liquid water 2 kilometers down. Might be perfect for the new hydroponics section." Kate smiled inside her helmet. In just 5 years, they had transformed a frozen wasteland into a growing colony. Council aliens would consider it impossible. Humans called it Tuesday. Across the stars, on a radiation-bathed planet named Helios, Dr. William Oakes adjusted his microscope. The lab's heavy shielding protected him from radiation levels that would kill most living things in minutes. Outside, construction crews worked in suits enhanced with his latest biological innovations. "Fourth-generation subjects are showing complete radiation adaptation," he dictated to his computer. Red blood cell mutation is stable and hereditable. We can now work outside for up to 6 hours without supplemental protection. A research assistant approached with a tablet. The mining teams hit a rich vein of thorium. It's more than enough to power the next 3 colonies. William nodded. Send word to Admiral West. Tell her Phase 2 is ahead of schedule. 23 hidden colonies now existed in places the Council never bothered to check. Some burrowed inside asteroids. Others floated in the upper atmospheres of gas giants, each focused on different technologies and resources, all connected by a web of ships that used secret routes between the stars. On the scout ship Horizon, Captain Daniel Rivers studied star charts in his private quarters. The ship had been exploring the edges of what humans knew as the Perseus Arm, far from Council traffic. What they found yesterday still had him in shock. A knock at his door. "Enter," he called. His first officer, Lieutenant Erica Patel, stepped in. "The science team has finished their initial analysis of the ruins." Daniel gestured to the chair across from him. "And?" "They're ancient, at least 50,000 years old. And they belong to a species not in any Council records we've seen." Daniel brought up images on his screen. Massive structures built into the side of a mountain on a lonely planet. Unlike the geometric precision of Vox architecture or the flowing designs of the Marith, these structures showed something familiar to human eyes. Artistic flair alongside practical design. "The team is calling them the precursors," Erica continued. "From what we can tell from their technology, they were similar to us in many ways. Adaptable, innovative, quick to develop new solutions. And they're gone," Daniel said quietly. "Completely. Wiped out. The question is by what? Or by whom?" Erica handed him a small device. "We found this in what appears to be a secure vault. It's some kind of data storage. Our engineers think they can access it." Daniel felt the weight of the small object in his hand. If these precursors were like us and something happened to them, it might explain why the Council fears us so much, Erica finished. 3 days later, aboard the Horizon, the engineering team gathered around a makeshift interface connected to the precursor device. Chief Engineer Frank Winters pressed a final sequence of commands. "That should do it," he said. "If I'm right, this will translate their data into a format we can understand." The screen flickered to life. Images appeared, star maps, technical diagrams, and what appeared to be historical records. But what caught everyone's attention was a recording showing crystalline beings that looked like early versions of the Vox, attacking precursor cities with weapons that reduced everything to ash. "My God," whispered Daniel. "They didn't just die out. They were murdered." More records revealed the truth. The precursors had been deemed evolutionarily unstable by the early Council races. Their crime was advancing too quickly, solving problems too creatively. The same accusations leveled against humanity. "We need to get this back to Admiral West immediately," Daniel ordered, "and download everything we can from this site." In the weeks that followed, human engineers worked day and night studying precursor technology. Deep in their hidden labs, they made breakthrough after breakthrough. The most important came in the form of a new faster-than-light drive that didn't use the Council's monitored hyperspace lanes. They called it the Shadow Drive. In her office on Mars Base, now 80 years old but sharp as ever, Admiral Eleanor West received the reports from all 23 colonies. On her wall hung a map showing humanity's secret expansion. New dots appeared every month. "Admiral," her aide said, entering with a new report. "Captain Rivers and his team have successfully reverse-engineered the precursor communications technology. It can't be detected by Council sensors." Eleanor nodded. "And our population numbers?" Over 300,000 humans now live off-Earth, in hidden colonies. Birth rates are stable. The genetic diversity program is working. Eleanor looked out her window at the red Martian landscape. Beyond the dome, dust devils swirled across empty plains. To any Council observers watching from their Sentinel platforms, Mars held nothing but small research outposts. They couldn't detect the vast underground cities where humanity prepared for its future. "How long until we can implement Phase 3? She asked. Governor Patricia Vance reports that Colony Echo 7 now produces enough ships to begin the operation within 5 years. Eleanor smiled slightly. The council had expected humans to accept their prison or exhaust themselves in futile rebellion. Instead, humans had turned their exile into the perfect cover for building something the galaxy had never seen, an invisible empire. "We've been patient for 20 years, she said. "We can be patient a little longer. When we finally reveal ourselves to the galaxy, I want our position to be unassailable." As her aide left, Eleanor touched a control that brought up an image of the original Pathfinder crew. Commander Alex Brennan had died 10 years ago, never seeing how his mission's failure had sparked humanity's greatest achievement. "They cast us out," she whispered to his image. "But they forgot what humans do best. We survive where others cannot. We adapt when others break, and we thrive on impossible challenges." Out in the darkness between stars, human ships moved silently. Through space, the council thought empty. In harsh worlds deemed worthless, human colonies grew. And in laboratories hidden from alien eyes, the children of Earth prepared to take their place in a galaxy that had rejected them. The council had wanted to contain humanity. Instead, they had forced it to become something far more dangerous, invisible, innovative, and unstoppable. Captain Nicole Jordan of the defense vessel, Defiant, stared at her tactical display with narrowed eyes. The ship had been patrolling the edge of human space when sensors picked up an unusual energy signature. Now she could see the source, a small, alien vessel being pursued by a larger one. "Analysis?" she asked her tactical officer. "The smaller ship matches nothing in our database. The larger vessel appears to be a known pirate configuration, using outdated council technology." Nicole drummed, her fingers on her chair. After 50 years of hiding, humans had strict protocols about contact with alien species. Detection meant destruction. That was the rule that had kept humanity's secret empire safe. But something felt wrong about blasting a ship clearly in trouble. "Life. Signs on the smaller vessel?" she asked. "Readings suggest approximately 20 beings. Their ship is damaged. They won't outrun the pirates." Nicole made her decision. "Battle stations. Target the pirate vessel only. Let's see if we can convince them to find easier prey." The Defiant emerged from the shadow of a small moon, weapons charged. The pirate ship immediately broke off pursuit, surprised by the appearance of an unknown vessel. When they tried to scan the Defiant, they found their sensors scrambled by human countermeasures. "They're turning to engage us," reported the tactical officer. Nicole smiled. "Show them what a human ship can do." The battle lasted less than 5 minutes. Human weapons, enhanced with precursor technology, sliced through the pirate ship's shields. When the pirates realized they were outmatched, they attempted to flee. But the Defiant's shadow drive allowed it to cut off their escape route. With their engines disabled and weapons offline, the pirates surrendered. Nicole ordered them to abandon ship in escape pods. Once they were clear, the Defiant destroyed the empty pirate vessel, leaving no evidence of human technology. That left the alien ship they had saved. "They're hailing us," said the communications officer. Nicole took a deep breath. "This goes against every protocol. You all understand that?" Her crew nodded. They had just crossed a line that couldn't be uncrossed. "Put them through." The screen showed an insectoid being with 4 arms and large compound eyes. It spoke in a clicking language that the ship's computer quickly began to translate. "Unknown vessel, we thank you for your assistance. We are Zalis traders returning from an outer mining operation. We did not expect to find anyone in this unclaimed region." Nicole chose her words carefully. "We are explorers. We prefer to avoid council space." The Zalis seemed to understand immediately. "We too find council regulations restrictive. They limit trade with non-member species and tax everything else heavily. We were taking a shortcut through unpatrolled space when those pirates found us." Nicole made another decision that would change the course of human history. "Your ship is damaged. We can assist with repairs." 2 days later, Nicole sat across from Carvex, the Zalis captain, in a makeshift meeting room. The insectoid being had been shocked to learn that his rescuers were humans, a species the Council had quarantined 50 years ago. The Council told everyone that humans had accepted their place, Carvex said, his translator converting his clicks into English. They said your kind was content to develop slowly under their guidance. Nicole laughed bitterly. Is that what they're saying? We were imprisoned in our home system against our will. Carvex's antennae twitched in what Nicole had learned was an expression of sympathy. The Zalis understand. We are one of the newer Council races, the 3 dominant species. Treat us as second-class citizens. As Zalis engineers worked alongside humans to repair their vessel, Carvex was given a limited tour of human technology. He was astonished by what he saw. Your shadow drive alone would revolutionize transportation, he said. And these adaptive habitat designs could help colonize worlds the Council deems worthless. Nicole watched him carefully. What happens when you return to Council space? Will you tell them about us? Carvex's body stiffened in the Zalis equivalent of resolve. My people have suffered under Council restrictions for generations. Perhaps it is time for an arrangement that benefits us both instead. And so began the first alliance between humans and another species. The Zalis kept humanity's secret and established quiet trade routes between their worlds and human colonies. Human innovations flowed to Zalis worlds disguised as their own developments, while the Zalis provided invaluable intelligence about Council activities. This careful balance lasted for 2 years until a galactic survey ship detected unusual energy signatures near what was supposed to be an abandoned mining region. The vessel, operated by junior Council officials, investigated despite considering it a routine mission. What they found changed everything. Ambassador Jason Harris stood before a mirror in his quarters on New Geneva, the capital of the Terran Cooperative. At 62, he had spent his career as a historian, studying the fall of civilizations. Now he was about to represent humanity in its most important moment since first contact. His aide entered with a final update. The Council has assembled an emergency session. Over 40 species will be present. They're expecting to find a few illegal human outposts. Jason straightened his formal uniform, and instead they'll discover we've built an empire right under their noses. The Council chamber looked much as Commander Brennan had described it 50 years ago. 3 massive thrones dominated the circular room, with tiered seating for representatives of member species. But today there was a tension in the air as rumors flew about what the survey ship had discovered. The Vox Councilor's crystalline form glowed with anger as it addressed the assembly. We have confirmed reports of human activity outside their quarantine zone. It appears a small group of their kind has established an illegal mining operation in unclaimed space. A murmur ran through the crowd. Most species had forgotten about humans entirely. We will send a containment fleet to escort these criminals back to their system and strengthen the Sentinel platforms, announced the Marith Councilor, its gaseous form darkening with authority. That would be a serious mistake. The voice came from the entrance of the chamber. All eyes turned to see Jason Harris walking calmly toward the center of the room. Behind him stood a delegation of humans and, shocking everyone present, a group of Zalis. Who dares interrupt council proceedings? Demanded the Zinthar representative, its component creatures forming patterns of outrage. I am Ambassador Jason Harris of the Terran Cooperative, he replied, his voice steady. I represent not a mining outpost, but a sovereign nation of humans, spanning 63 star systems. The chamber erupted in chaos. The Vox Councilor's crystalline body actually cracked with shock. The Maritha swirled violently in its containment field. When order was finally restored, the Zinthar spoke in disbelief. Impossible. The Sentinel platforms have reported no human ships passing them in 50 years. Jason smiled. We never tried to pass them. Instead, we went where you never look, the dead space you considered worthless. He activated a holographic display showing the extent of human territory. Colonies, mining operations, research stations, and defensive installations filled regions the Council had written off as uninhabitable. While you watched our front door, Jason continued, We built our house in what you thought was empty wilderness." The Zalus representative stepped forward. "The Human Alliance has brought prosperity to Zalus worlds. Their technology has helped us terraform planets you deemed useless." As council members stared in disbelief, Jason delivered the final shock. "We did not come here asking for acceptance into your council. We came to introduce ourselves as equals, and to propose a new relationship based on mutual respect rather than fear." The Vox counselor's voice rang like shattering glass. "This is an outrage. Humanity was quarantined for the safety of all." Jason's expression hardened. "No, we were imprisoned because you feared what we might become, and in doing so you guaranteed we would become exactly that." Grand Marshal Kolvex of the Vox paced the command deck of his flagship, the crystalline surfaces of his body catching the light with each movement. Around him, officers from all three major council species coordinated the largest military fleet, assembled in 500 years. "Status report," he demanded. A Marith officer, her gaseous form contained in a hovering sphere, approached. 217 warships have gathered at the rally point. The last battle group will arrive within 6 hours. Kolvex nodded, his crystalline face reflecting no emotion. "And the target? Our intelligence suggests the human colony, designated Echo 7, is lightly defended. It will make an excellent example." 3 weeks had passed since the humans revealed their hidden empire to the shocked council. While some council members called for negotiation, the military wing, led by the hardline Vox faction, had pushed for immediate action. They called it a containment operation, but everyone knew its real purpose: to crush the human threat before it grew stronger. What the council forces didn't know was that humans had been preparing for this moment for decades. Admiral Gregory Hayes stood before a holographic display in the command center of the Terran Defense Force headquarters. At 58, he had spent his entire career planning for a war he hoped would never come. Now that it had arrived, he felt strangely calm. "The council fleet is moving exactly as predicted," reported his intelligence officer. "They're targeting Echo 7 as we expected." Gregory nodded. "And our forces?" "Phase shift ships are in position, but undetected. Ground defense units are deployed and hidden. The Zalis have provided the council's attack plans as promised." Gregory studied the display, watching the movement of council ships. Echo 7 appeared vulnerable on standard scans, showing only minimal defenses and a small population. This was by design. What the council couldn't see were the state-of-the-art defense systems hidden beneath the planet's surface and the battle fleet waiting in phase-shifted space. "All commanders, confirm readiness," Gregory ordered. One by one, reports came in from ship captains and ground force leaders. Everyone was in position, waiting for the council to make their move. "Send word to the diplomatic corps," Gregory said to his communications officer. "Tell Ambassador Harris that military action is now inevitable. It's time for Plan Omega." The first shots of the war came at dawn, local time on Echo 7. Council ships emerged from faster-than-light travel and immediately established a blockade around the planet. Ground-based sensors detected the arrival of over 40 warships. Captain Laura Reeves of the Colony Defense Forces watched from an underground bunker as the invasion began. Council ships launched orbital strikes against what they believed were the colony's main defensive positions, actually empty decoys constructed for this purpose. "They're beginning troop landings," reported her second-in-command. "Primarily Vox shock troops with Zinthar support units." Laura activated her comms. "All units hold position. Let them land first." On the planet's surface, council troops secured their landing zones, meeting no resistance. Confident in their superior numbers, they began advancing toward the main colony structures. The Vox commander reported back to the orbital fleet that resistance was minimal. That was when the trap closed. Human ships using phase shift technology suddenly appeared throughout the council fleet's formation. Unlike conventional vessels that had to approach from a distance, phase-shifted ships could materialize directly alongside enemy vessels, their weapons already firing at point-blank range. On the ground, hidden bunkers opened to reveal combat, troops wearing powered exoskeletons that made them faster and stronger than any council soldier. Even unmodified humans proved surprisingly effective fighters. their adaptability allowing them to quickly adjust tactics as the battle evolved. The Council forces found themselves caught in a devastating crossfire. What they had expected to be a simple show of force against a helpless colony had become a military disaster. Aboard his flagship, Grand Marshal Kolvex watched in horror as status reports flooded in. 3 of his largest vessels had already been disabled, and ground forces reported heavy casualties. "How are they doing this?" he demanded. "Our intelligence said they had minimal defenses." A tactical officer's report only increased his fury. "Their ships are using some kind of phase technology that our sensors can't track. And their ground forces have combat capabilities far beyond what we expected." Kolvex made the only decision he could. "Order all forces to withdraw. We need to regroup and reassess." As the Council fleet retreated, leaving behind thousands of stranded ground troops, news of the defeat spread quickly through the galaxy. Species that had always accepted Council authority without question began to wonder if the mighty triumvirate was not as invincible as they had believed. Far from the battlefield, Dr. Olivia Clark worked frantically in her laboratory on New Earth, the first and largest of humanity's hidden colonies. As a xenoarchaeologist, she had spent years studying the precursor artifacts discovered 5 decades earlier. Now she had finally managed to decode the largest data cache yet. "My God," she whispered as the translation appeared on her screen. "We need to get this to Admiral Hayes immediately." The data contained the complete history of the precursor civilization and confirmed humanity's worst suspicions. The Council, races hadn't just defeated the precursors in a war, they had systematically exterminated them, wiping out every colony and habitat. Afterward, they had erased all records of precursor achievements from galactic history. The reason was exactly what humans had suspected: fear. The precursors had been innovative and adaptive, developing technologies that the slow-changing Council species couldn't match. Rather than compete, the Council had chosen to eliminate them entirely. When this information reached Admiral Hayes, he immediately forwarded it to Ambassador Harris with a simple message: "The galaxy needs to know." Within days, the information was spreading through non-Council communications channels. The Zalis were the first to publicly express outrage, but they weren't the last. Dozens of younger species began questioning why they had accepted Council leadership without challenge for so long. As diplomatic pressure mounted, the Council was forced to call for a ceasefire. But Grand Marshal Kolvex had no intention of stopping. Instead, he gathered his remaining loyal forces for a desperate gamble, a direct assault on humanity's home system. If Earth could be threatened, perhaps these upstart humans would finally understand their place. "The humans must be taught humility," he told his commanders. "We will bypass their colonies and strike at their heart." What Kolvex didn't realize was that his communications had been compromised. Human intelligence officers heard every word of his plan. By the time the Council's main fleet set course for Earth, Admiral Hayes had already positioned his forces. The battle that would decide the fate of human independence was about to begin at the place where humanity's journey among the stars had started: Proxima Centauri, the gateway to the Sol system. The stars of Proxima Centauri burned bright against the blackness of space as 2 fleets faced each other in the silent void. On one side, the Council's remaining warships had gathered for what Grand Marshal Kolvex called the final solution to the human problem. On the other, ships from the Terran Defense Force stood ready to protect the path to Earth, but they were not alone. Ambassador Lisa Chen watched from the bridge of the diplomatic vessel Unity as ships from a dozen non-Council races dropped out of faster-than-light travel to join the human fleet. The Zalis had committed their entire navy. Several previously neutral species had sent their strongest vessels. Even some factions from within Council races themselves had broken away to stand with humanity. "The Vox traditionalists never expected this," said her aide, looking at the growing Allied fleet. "They thought they could isolate us as they did 50 years ago." Lisa nodded. "Fear worked for them once. They assumed it would work again." A communication came through from Admiral Hayes on the fleet flagship. "Ambassador, the Council fleet is moving into attack formation. Are the diplomatic channels still open?" Yes, Admiral, but Grand Marshal Kolvex refuses to respond. The Maritha counselor is trying to establish contact, but the Vox military won't acknowledge them. This was the moment humanity and its allies had prepared for. When the Council fleet launched its first volley, the battle for the future of the galaxy began. Human phase shift ships appeared directly in the midst of Council formations, firing precision strikes at weapon systems and engines, rather than attempting to destroy vessels outright. Xalis fighters swarmed around larger Council, ships neutralizing their fighter screens. Ships from other allied species formed a defensive line, absorbing damage that might have broken through to human positions. From his command ship, Admiral Hayes directed the battle with calm precision. "Remember the objective," he reminded his captains. "We need to end this with minimal casualties on both sides. We're fighting for peace, not dominance." Aboard the Council flagship, Grand Marshal Kolvex watched in growing horror as his carefully planned assault fell apart. Human ships appeared where they shouldn't be able to go. Allied vessels coordinated with an efficiency the divided Council forces couldn't match. "We need reinforcements," he shouted at his communications officer. "Contact the Council. Tell them to send everything they have." The officer's crystalline face showed unusual emotion for a Vox. "Sir, the Council is no longer responding to your authority. The Marith have ordered their ships to stand down. The Zinthar vessels are withdrawing from the battle." For the first time in his long life, Kolvex felt something new: defeat. His own ship shuddered as precise strikes disabled its main weapons. On the tactical display, he watched as ship after ship in his fleet surrendered or retreated. The battle of Proxima Centauri ended not with the destruction of either side, but with the collapse of the Council's united front. As news spread throughout the galaxy, the political shockwaves traveled faster than any ship. 3 weeks later, Lisa Chen stood in the Great Hall that had once been the exclusive domain of the Galactic Council. The room had been reconfigured. Instead of 3 dominant thrones, a circular arrangement of equal seats surrounded a central podium. Representatives from over 60 species filled the chamber, including the former Council races. "The old Council is dissolved," announced the Marithi representative, its gaseous form now a calm blue. "We recognize that our leadership was based on fear rather than wisdom." Lisa stepped up to the podium, feeling the weight of the moment. At 45, she had spent her career studying interspecies relations, preparing for a day few humans had believed would come. "Today marks a new beginning," she said, her voice carrying to all corners of the chamber. "The Galactic Confederation is founded not on the dominance of any species over others, but on the principle that diversity creates strength." She activated a holographic display showing the structure of the new alliance. Each member race would have equal representation. Decisions would require consensus rather than being dictated by a few powerful species. "Humanity doesn't seek to replace the Council as rulers," Lisa continued. "We propose instead to be partners. Our history taught us the danger of thinking any single approach is always right." One by one, representatives came forward to sign the Confederation Charter. The Xalis were first, proudly taking their place as founding members. Even the Vox, now led by a progressive faction after Kolvex's removal from power, joined in, though some traditionalists abstained. The Marith joined unanimously, their adaptive nature finally recognizing the benefits of change. The Zinthar split, with some hives joining while others chose isolation. On the newly renamed Confluent Station, Commander Ben Foster supervised the final preparations for the headquarters of the Galactic Confederation. At 32, he was the grandson of one of the original exiled diplomats who had returned from that first failed contact mission. "The flags are ready for the ceremony," reported his assistant. Ben nodded, looking at the collection of banners representing all member species. "And the landing site is prepared? It needs to be exactly as specified." "Yes, sir. The podium stands precisely where the original Council issued the quarantine decree 56 years ago." Ben smiled at the symmetry. "From exile to leadership in Maistiao, less than 60 years. a pace that would have seemed impossible to the slow-changing council races. On Earth, in a hospital room with a view of the rebuilt Geneva skyline, Admiral Eleanor West watched the ceremony on a large screen. At 126 years old, advanced human medicine had kept her alive to see this day, though she was too frail to travel to space. She watched as Ben Foster raised the new Confederation flag, a field of stars surrounding a spiral galaxy, with symbols representing all member species including humanity. Tears formed in her old eyes as she remembered the day, so long ago when she had proposed hiding in the places the council never looked. "They cast us out," she whispered to herself, thinking we'd wither and die. Instead, we came back and saved them from themselves. A nurse entered the room, checking the Admiral's vital signs. "Are you all right, ma'am?" she asked, noticing the tears. Eleanor nodded, her eyes never leaving the screen where representatives of dozens of species were gathering in harmony. "I'm more than all right, dear. I'm witnessing the impossible." On the screen, Lisa Chen was speaking about the future, about joint scientific missions, cultural exchanges, and shared prosperity. But what caught Eleanor's attention was the small Vox child, presenting a crystal sculpture to a human child as a symbol of reconciliation. "That," she said, pointing to the image, "is what we really built. Not an empire, but a future where fear no longer rules." As the ceremony continued, ships from all Confederation species launched in formation around Confluence Station, their lights blending together in the darkness of space. The galaxy had attempted to contain humanity once. Now humanity had transformed the galaxy, not through conquest but through the very adaptability that had once made them feared. The human empire no one saw coming turned out not to be an empire at all, but something far more powerful, a new way forward for all species, together.